Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Calls. This is the 2025 Baycurrent Classic Initial Research Show. If that title does not sound familiar, do not fret. This is a new tournament on the PGA Tour. This is taking the spot of the Zozo Championship, still being played in the same country, over in Japan, but not being played at the traditional course, the Acadia Narashino, something to that effect. We are at a brand new course and a brand new tournament over in Japan, but still part of the FedEx Fall. Hopefully your Sanderson Farms went well. Mine was not terribly productive, although I'd had a massive sweat all week, considering I had the outright on Garrick Higo, and then he decides to let the lead slip away late today. So no cash, or no outright cash for me. DFS wasn't too terribly productive either. I did accrue some of my money back, but wasn't all that great. I didn't get a whole lot right for the Sanderson Farm. So we're going to try and see how we fare at this new venue, new tournament over in Japan. Going to be probably a pretty short show, and I'll explain why throughout it. But let's get into what we can, shall we, for this new tournament. All statistics provided tonight and every night are from FantasyNational.com. Go check out FantasyNational.com. You will not regret it. In the description to the video, there are links to all the social media. First off, my X and Instagram, where normally I post research every Monday morning or afternoon regarding some course info, patterns of previous winners, things of that nature. Obviously cannot do that for this tournament, considering this is a brand new course. So there is no history at this course. So I'm going to not be able to do anything for the Baycurrent. But normally, if you want to see the weekly research that I do on the PGA Tour, give me a follow at your preferred social media site. X is also where I place my weekly betting cards and top player usage in the DFS contests I play. That comes out every Wednesday after the DFS Tactics show. If you follow me over at X, you would have seen the Garrick Higo outright, the Henrik Norlander outright, which he missed the cut, so that was dead from the beginning. Michael Thorbjornsen was, pretty middling. He was okay, T28 or something. And then you would have seen all of the Thorbjornsen I played, all the Kevin Yu I played. Didn't play a whole lot of Garrick Higo because I had the outright on him. So if you want to see the players that I'm wagering with my money and the players I'm using most often in my DFS lineups, give me a follow over at X. Lastly, for social media, Gabe's handle's in the description. Writes a great article called The Fringe. I can't recommend it enough. So make sure you're subscribed to that, especially since he's going to be providing some enhancements during the fall to in preparation for 2026. And go show him some support. Follow him over on social media. Lastly, we are live. Chat's open. I want to hear from you all. Again, how was your Sanderson Farms? Do you know anything of this new course? What do you think of the field that's going to go over to Japan and play? Any of your thoughts and opinions put in the chat. I'll get to those. And then if you're not able to catch a show live, any thoughts and opinions of yours, put those into the comments. I'll always get to those as well. So let's get into it. Let's do our initial research for the 2025 Baycurrent Classic. And like I mentioned, oh goodness, that is, it was blurry. Let me try to get this camera centered and all that. There we go. Sorry about that. Still need to adjust it even more. There we go. Apologies for whatever reason. My camera decided to move on me. As I was saying, this is probably going to be a week full of pretty short shows, with the exception of maybe Wednesday. Normally on a Sunday evening, we start over at the GCSAA tournament fact sheet. Well, I will show you, at least 45 minutes ago, and I might be a filthy liar by now, but there is no tournament fact sheet for the Baycurrent Classic. And we can't look at last year's because we are at a brand new course. Sorry, let me scroll back up to the top here. and then go to 2024. So we didn't even have the Zozo last year. So instead, we're going to have to start at this official scorecard. This is the official scorecard from the PGA Tour and the Baycurrent Classic site. And obviously we don't get anything in terms of number of bunkers or water hazards, fairway width, any of that. I do have something to hopefully help us with that, but this is the scorecard for the Baycurrent Classic at what is known as Yokohama Country Club, which is Yokohama, Japan, I'm assuming. We have a very, very interesting course. The very little that I know about Yokohama Country Club is that there's an east and there's a west in terms of two 18-hole courses on this property. From what I have gathered, this is mostly the west course. Mostly. And I say mostly as I'll get into that. But the Yokohama Country Club West course is set up for the tournament as a par 71 measuring 7,315 yards. So that would be, about, I don't want to say an average size course, maybe a mid-length course. Certainly not going to use any length filters in terms of short or long courses. And it's a very unique par 71. You've got a traditional front nine, par 36 with 2 par 3s and 2 par 5s. But the back nine is a par 35 with no par 5. Now, I have an assumption, and it's just an assumption, I can't guarantee it, that one of these two, either hole 11 or hole 14, is a converted par 5. That would be my guess. With that said, for tournament play this week, the back nine at this Yokohama Country Club is a par 35 with no par 5s. So you have 8 par 4s and a par 3 on the back nine. So we have 3 par 3s, 2 par 5s, making a par 71 golf course, again measuring 7,315 yards. There is the official scorecard. With that, let me bring up the whole composition chart. And again, we're not going to have anything over in Fantasy National for this brand new course. Not going to have anything in terms of a course breakdown, strokes gained, anything that we normally would get. So this is about all we're going to get in terms of an idea on how the course is laid out, lengths of holes, maybe some proximities. Your par 3s here, at least on the official scorecard, we have a short, a mid-length, and a very long par 3. So pretty balanced lengths of par 3s here. We have 11 par 4s. No, I was right the first time. 13. Because there's 3 par 3s and 2 par 4s. Yeah, 13 par 4s. We do have what seems to be a drivable par 4. I believe it's 337 on the scorecard. Yeah, you can just see it off to the edge of your screen. Par 4, 337. So that does seem to be a drivable par 4. We have a couple short par 4s. Majority of the par 4s at this tournament, Yokohama tournament course, 5 falling from 400 to 450. 3 long and 2 very long par 4s, 2 measuring over 500 yards. Again, I do think one of these is a converted par 4 from the, converted par 5 if the public were to play, or for the members. And then our 2 par 5s, both falling from 500 to 550. There is a look at the official scorecard whole composition chart for Yokohama. I will go back to the scorecard here for a second before explaining to you that I normally use Pro Visualizer in terms of looking at a course, especially a new course. I was able to find something for the Yokohama Country Club in Pro Visualizer. Now, in fact, let me go through the process for you so you know where I'm getting this info from. There is a, well, I wish I could zoom in for you enough to see it, but you'll just have to take my word for it. There it is right there. Under Pro Calendar, we go to PGA Tour, and down here at the bottom, we have the Baycurrent Classic at Yokohama Country Club. This is where I'm going for, so if Pro Visualizer is incorrect, that's what I have for you. But I will say a lot of these holes do line up in terms of yardage, just not in order, if that makes sense. So you see Yokohama West, or you see Yokohama West, because there is an East as well. Yokohama West. We'll go through the course here, just get a decent idea of how the course is laid out, maybe some water trouble or anything like that. Looks like this first hole, pretty nondescript. And in fact, if we go to the scorecard, it says 475 here, whereas the 10th is 431. So my guess is they've flipped the nines, but there's also some things that don't line up. So I can only go by what I've been able to find, and I'm sure there's going to be some information out there from other pundits in the industry. I highly encourage you to go out there, find all the information you can, considering this is brand new, and I'm not 100% confident that I have everything completely right. Just being fully transparent with you as the viewer. But we can try to get an idea of how this course is laid out, how, forgiving or narrow or difficult, easy we might think this is. First hole, at least per Pro Visualizer here, a little bit of a snaking fairway, but pretty wide open, seemingly. This looks like a fairly forgivingly wide fairway, especially for professionals, to a green that, just kind of protected in front by bunkers. Now, there does not appear to be a whole lot of room behind the green, so players are going to have to err on the side of caution of being short and or right. But I don't see too much undulation here either, at least on this hole. So, yeah, pretty simple, nondescript hole to start. No water on that hole. Hole 2, and this is where we already start to get some discrepancies here, because hole 2 on Pro Visualizer is a 168-yard par 3, whereas, if this was indeed this hole, then, the next should be a long par 4. This 168-yard par 3 looks like it's here, which would be hole 3. So maybe they're changing some routing for the tournament as well. Again, I just don't know. Par 3, 168, pretty straightforward, seemingly. Just a green protected by a lot of bunkers. Green does look fairly large for what it's worth. And I don't have a reading on average green size here either. Hole 3, 200. It says par 4, 286 yards. My assumption is that they have added a tee since this picture was taken, but this could be very well be the drivable par 4. I'm going to say this water is absolutely not in play, although it would be for me because I'm terrible. But water not in play. A drivable par 4 here. Pretty big green. Not a whole lot of room seemingly around the greens. So from the first 3 holes, it does appear like iron play could be Pretty important, considering that while these greens are seemingly pretty big, there isn't a lot of miss room around them. Hole 4, par 4, 514 yards. In fact, kind of dangerous, at least if I were playing, because this is the first green, and the tee box for hole 4 is back here. Anyway, long par 4, interesting design here with a tree right in the middle of the fairway. Our first look at what should be water in play for the professionals, guarding the front right of this green, but is going to demand a very long, accurate iron approach shot. Considering this is a par 4 at 514 scorecard, we have this par 4 510, par 4 508, could be either of those. So there's, but I'm still not seeing much undulation throughout the course. Moving to hole 5, at least per Pro Visualizer, an actual par 5 here, 520 yards, dogleg right, seemingly a pretty forgiving fairway. A little bit of rough here on the right. Maybe if you're too far left, you get blocked out by the trees. Otherwise, a green that is going to get attacked in two by the professionals. Does look like there's some elevation and some drop off here, would be my guess. There does look to be some slope there. So maybe this green sits a little elevated. Does appear to be that case, especially since you have this walking bridge here. Hole 6, straightaway par 4, again 337, so that matches this hole here. So I don't know where that other par 4 280 would have fallen. 357. I mean, again, just going by what Pro Visualizer has, but an extremely straightaway par 4, drivable for the professionals, or most of them. 337. Most professionals are going to decide that if they can't get there, they'll lay up with an iron, but still not a very difficult approach, so long as they're left side of the fairway here, which this fairway looks very forgiving for being a drivable par 4. Kind of interesting with this little tree here to try to block maybe some approach shots that go, to the front right maybe. Or if the player isn't good with their distance control, maybe they end up right behind the tree. But for the most part, I would see this as a scoring opportunity for majority of the professionals. 7, long par 4, 513. A little bit narrow of a fairway, especially in the landing zone. These bunkers kind of creep out into some of the landing area, but a dogleg right to another green that is seemingly pretty large. Don't have any idea on undulation or speed or anything to that effect, but looks like a very, very large green, only protected by a few bunkers, no water. But again, going to demand probably a pretty long, accurate iron shot, considering it's 513 yards. 8, par 4, 386. Again, maybe a slight dogleg right. Couple of bunkers that players will have to navigate off of the tee ball. But then another green with no water in play, just demanding a accurate iron to a green that is only protected by bunkers front and right and long left. Hole 9, the long par 3, which is 16 on the scorecard. So you can see we've been jumping around every which way on this scorecard, at least per Pro Visualizer. So I don't know what the routing for the tournament's going to be, or how it relates to Pro Visualizer, I should say. But long par 3, 242. Again, seemingly a massive green. Does look like there's like a knob here, probably. So probably dividing this green into quadrants. Yeah, I can see a front left, a back right, maybe front middle or front right, back left. But massive green protected by what does appear to be, some level of drop off on bunkers. So maybe a deep bunker or two here, but Pretty straightaway par 3, just another long, demanding iron on that hole. Par 4, 513. Again, the tee shot probably demands a bit of a cut, but long iron demanded into a seemingly pretty big green with no water, not a whole lot of room around the green. Just players are going to have to be accurate with their long irons, maybe bailing out short. 11, 422, very straightaway, very forgiving, seemingly fairway, depending on undulation and whatnot. Again, to another green, pretty big green seemingly, not protected by water, just a bunker here to the left. 186 par 3, 12th. Again, I know there's water technically here for the professionals. I don't see that being in play. So just hitting into a green that is protected by bunkers and what looks to be like chipping area or, fairway. Not anything descriptive about that. Par 5, 542. One of the few holes that I've seen go right to left so far through this preview. You do have seemingly a little bit more of a narrow tee shot here with trees on either side. Opens up a little bit so long as the professional is able to guide their tee shot in between what looks to be one of the more narrow fairways. The green actually opens up, and this par 5 will get attacked in two with just bunkers protecting this green. You have a little bit more room left and right, but it does appear that long could roll down what seems like a hill maybe. But immediately I'm starting to get the feeling that we've got some pretty large greens demanding some long accurate irons. 14, 420 yard par 4, very straight away, pretty narrow but straight away to a green protected by bunkers. I've only seen one hole with water in play so far. Again, technically this is water. It's not in play for professionals. This is another par 5, 530. This is probably going to be one of the converted, would be my guess. The par 5s are 536 and 529, so maybe this is one of them. I'm not sure. But again, another par 5 that would get attacked into green that is, again, seemingly rather large, just protected by bunkers. No water danger for players to have to maneuver around or think about. 16, 185 par 3. Again, just very straightforward. Iron into a green. 17, par 4, 333. Interesting design features here. We've seen this a couple times throughout the course. They plant a tree right in the middle of the fairway, demanding that if the player is going to lay up, they have to be pretty darn accurate to make sure they're not blocked out by the tree. But the green is rather large. One of the few greens that has a lot of room around it in case the player is errant, but just protected by bunkers. And then 18, at least per Pro Visualizer, 415, only the second hole that I've seen go predominantly right to left. Drive here to what looks to be a humongous green. Not a whole lot of room around it, but still just protected by bunkers. So I've seen one hole with water in play. I've seen accurate long irons into some greens that are rather large, so might be looking at some proximity. Let me know what you think. Put it in chat, put it in the comments. But I'm going to exit Pro Visualizer. We'll go to Fantasy National. Again, there's not a whole lot that we're going to be able to do here. Like the course breakdown is looking at Accordia, Golf Narashino. It's not where we are, so we don't have anything to look at in terms of course breakdown. Don't have anything to look at in terms of historic conditions. These have, the Zozo used to be at Narashino. This is a brand new course. So let's just get a feel for the players that are in the field this week. Over in Japan this week, your top performers last 36 rounds: Kurt Kitayama, Emiliano Grillo, who was pretty darn bad at the Sanderson Farms. Xander Hideki is making the trip over to Japan. Quite an international field for this event. Colin Morikawa is here. Siwoo Kim, Rasmus Højgaard, I believe Nikolai might be as well. If I sort on the names, just kind of going through here, Billy Horschel coming off of his injury. Any player that is starred is an alternate except for one. I'll get to him when we get to him. Again, Kevin Yu, Colin Morikawa, Grillo, Higo Hideki, Tom Kim, some of the Japanese tour players: Kazuki Higa, Kaita Nakajima, Kota Kaneko, Kurt Kitayama. Just trying to highlight some of the bigger names and the Japanese tour players. Max Homa, Thorbjorn Bin Lee is here. Yes, so both Højgaard brothers are here, Nikolai and Rasmus. Our defending champion, technically, from last year's Zozo is Nico Echeverria. Sahith Tagala's here. Siwoo Sungjae. And then down here at the bottom, you got Xander, Wyndham Clark. Tony Finau was originally committed to play in Yokohama this week. He has already decided to withdraw. So Tony Finau is the one-starred player that I have here that is actually not in the field. Sam Ryder has taken his place. There's a quick look at the field in general. Again, top performers: Kurt Kitayama, Grillo, Goddard, Mark Hubbard, Xander, Wallace, Hideki, Patrick Fishburne, Kevin Roy, Michael Thorbjornsen in terms of top total performance. I'll look at irons. Your top iron players the past 36 rounds: Kurt Kitayama, Hideki, Lee Hodges, Colin Morikawa, Sammy Valimaki, Emiliano Grillo, Nikolai Højgaard, Ryan Gerard, Austin Eckroat, Mac Meisner. Skipping Victor Puri, he is an alternate at the moment. I do not believe the Sanderson Farms is in here yet. It is not. So this will update once the Sanderson Farms gets loaded into Fantasy National. Again, I don't really have an idea of what kind of surface greens these are. So I'm going to try and do some research on that for you all tomorrow. Then really we'll just kind of take a look at a couple of other things that I have an assumption on. And that'll really kind of be it, because we don't have any past experience. We can't look at tournament history. We can't look at the early look file or anything like that. So I'm going to look at 200 plus procs, because there are a few longer par 4s at 510, 508, and then the par 5s will get attacked into, pretty sure. The one long par 3, 237, that demands a 200 plus iron approach shot. So I'm just going to look at 200 plus irons for tonight. Your top 200 plus iron players: Ryan Gerard, Hideki, Michael Thorbjornsen, Joel Damon, Austin Eckroat, Matty Schmid, Gary Woodland, Kurt Kitayama, Rasmus Højgaard, Chris Ventura. Only other thing we can look at, because we have a plethora of par 4s, 13 of them, at least on the scorecard for Yokohama. We'll take a look at your top par 4 performers in the field this week over in Yokohama: Kevin Roy, Chris Goddard, Matt Wallace, Michael Kim, Seabez, Fishburne, Joel Damon, Hideki, Lee Hodges, Andrew Putnam are your top par 4 performers. Again, I'm going to try and do some research tomorrow, figure out some more course information. Had a pretty busy day today, and then watched the Sanderson Farms, even though Garrick Higo did not pull through for me. But spent my day watching that. Not fully sure about how Yokohama is laid out, so I'll try to do some research for you all tomorrow. That's going to be it for the initial research for the new Baycurrent Classic Tournament. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, watching, listening, supporting the channel, by liking the videos, commenting, and subscribing. I always appreciate it. I love what I do. Taking a very in-depth look at golf statistics, when available, giving you a statistician and data analyst view of what he sees, trying to help us all win a little bit of money in the process. I will be live tomorrow night, 9 p.m., with hopefully some more solid information to pass along to you all. So, for all the wagers that you made this past week for the Sanderson Farms, for all the DFS contests you played this past week for the Sanderson Farms, and until I see you tomorrow night for the Data Dive show, may all your bets be profitable.